The classroom smelled like old paper and floor polish, familiar, stiff, and quiet. Too quiet. Selah Vance stood just inside the door of room 114, violin case in hand, backpack tugging down one shoulder. 30 pairs of eyes glanced her way before snapping back to their stands. No one smiled. No one waved her over. The sound of tuning strings rose and fell like a half-hearted storm. At the front of the room stood Mr. Elridge, tall, steel-gray suit, hair combed back like he ironed it into place. His voice cut through the room like a metronome, cold, precise, impatient. "You're late." Selah looked at the clock. She wasn't. "No, sir," she said, voice quiet. He didn't answer, just motioned toward the empty chair in the back row. Second violin section. Not the worst spot, but not where someone good sat either. Selah made her way past the cello section, eyes forward. She didn't trip, didn't fumble, didn't look around to see who might be watching. The scraping sound of someone shifting a chair echoed too loudly behind her. Someone whispered, another beginner. Then a chuckle. Short. Sharp. She sat, opened her case. Her violin was clean but worn at the edges, smooth where fingers had pressed down for years. The bow, her grandmother's, still held the faintest scent of rosin and sandalwood. Mr. Elridge tapped his stand. "We'll begin with Bach as written. No improvising. No dragging tempo. No interpretación. If you can't keep up, don't play." The pianist began. The orchestra followed. Selah didn't lift her bow. Not yet. She watched. Listened. Measured. The room sounded hollow, like a song being played too carefully to mean anything. Every note was technically correct, and completely lifeless. Elridge walked up and down the aisles like a shadow with eyes. He corrected a cellist for leaning too far forward. Told the flute section they sounded like a tin can in a storm drain. Then he stopped near Selah. "You haven't played a note." She met his eyes. "Not yet. Is there a reason?" "I'm learning how this room works." He didn't reply. Just walked off. That night, Selah practiced in the small bedroom she shared with her younger cousin. She didn't use sheet music. She played from memory. Scales first, then arpeggios. Then something harder. Shostakovich. The Violin Concerto No. 1 in a minor. Her grandmother's favorite. The piece was jagged, brutal, and relentless. It didn't give you permission to mess up. It didn't let you hide. It swallowed players whole if they weren't ready. Selah played it anyway. She wasn't trying to be noticed. She just needed to remember what it felt like to breathe through a song that fought back. The next day, Mr. Elridge handed out audition sheets. "Next week, we'll reassign seating for ensemble selections. Solos will be considered only for those who audition with serious material. No pop songs. No show tunes. Play something with teeth." He looked straight at her. She didn't blink. "If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us grow and lets us keep bringing you more content like this. Plus, you won't want to miss what we have coming next. Trust me, it's going to be good." On Friday, Selah signed her name on the list. Beside piece selection, she wrote 4 words. Shostakovich Violin Concerto No. 1. By Monday, whispers were flying before first period even started. "She's just showing off. But she can't even tune right. Elridge is gonna roast her." Selah ignored all of it. By Thursday, the air in room 114 had changed. Tighter. Suspenseful. Elridge hadn't said a word to her all week. Just occasional glances. Calculated pauses. He saved her for last. "Selah Vance. You're up." She stood. Walked to the front. Opened her case slowly. The room wasn't loud, but it wasn't silent either. People were fidgeting, half paying attention. Someone in the viola section muttered, "Here comes the mess." Selah adjusted her shoulder rest, tightened her bow, and stood center stage. Not behind the podium. In front of it, she took one breath. And played. The first note wasn't soft. It didn't ease in. It tore through the room like a match head against stone. The pianist flinched, then caught up. Barely. Selah's fingers moved fast, bow sharper than breath. She didn't perform it like she wanted applause. She played it like she needed air, like every phrase was a heartbeat. At first, no one moved. Then the room began to shift. No coughing. No paper rustling. Even the ones who didn't know music could feel something happening, something wrong with how right it was. Mr. Elridge didn't stop her. He didn't dare. She finished 4 minutes later. The last note cut off like a door slamming shut. Silence. Not from confusion. From impact. Selah lowered her bow. Let the quiet stretch. Then turned, walked back to her seat. No one clapped. No one whispered. Just stillness. After class, a boy from the cello section caught up with her in the hallway. Joe, that was something else. Selah gave a nod. Thanks. Her friend Yasmin slid in beside her. Did you see Elridge's face? He looked like he swallowed a cactus. They both laughed. Not loud, just real. That evening, Selah was called to the front office. No warning. Inside sat Principal Laurel and Assistant Superintendent Jeffries. Laurel smiled faintly. Selah, come in. Jeffries didn't smile, just flipped through a file. We received several emails over the weekend, Laurel said. A few positive, a few concerned. Selah said nothing. Elridge filed a report, Jeffries added. He claims your audition was intentionally disruptive, that it disrespected the structure of his rehearsal. There it was. Selah blinked once. No reaction. He says you undermined his authority. Laurel shifted uncomfortably. But several students also submitted statements praising your performance. Some staff heard about it within hours. We just need to clarify something. Jeffries leaned forward. Did Mr. Elridge make any inappropriate remarks? Any language you felt was hostile or biased? Selah paused. She could tell them about the sarcasm, the tone, the way he always looked past her like she was invisible until he needed someone to scold. But she didn't. Not because it wasn't true, because she knew what happened next if she did. I just want to play, she said softly. Laurel nodded. You're still allowed to participate in class and all performances. If you ever feel uncomfortable, please come to me directly. Jeffries closed the folder, said nothing, left the room. When Selah returned to class the next day, Mr. Elridge didn't look her way, didn't speak her name. He didn't have to. The room felt different. Students shifted toward her. Quietly, respectfully. One asked about fingering positions. Another asked if she practiced every day. Even some of Elridge's top favorites, the ones who used to sit in the front row with perfect posture, started drifting. Not all of them. Some whispered behind her back. She made him look bad. She's trying too hard. She thinks she's better. Selah kept her head down, kept playing. Then came Thursday. She was pulling books from her locker when Ms. Chauncey, the school counselor, walked up. You free after school? Selah nodded. There's someone I want you to meet. That afternoon, they walked through the quiet music wing, past the locked storage closets and stacked risers. In one of the side rooms stood a woman, elegant posture, short salt and pepper hair, eyes sharp like glass. Selah, this is Ms. Edra Wynn, director of the Highmeadow Youth Ensemble. Selah froze. I heard about you, Wynn said. The way people talk, you'd think you walked into that classroom with fire in your hands. Selah didn't answer. Wynn leaned in. We have an opening in our spring showcase. You'd be the youngest soloist in 5 years. I want you in. Selah hesitated. What if the school finds out? They probably will. They can't do anything about it. That night, Selah played with a different kind of fire. Her grandmother's bow slid across the strings like it knew exactly where it needed to go. Her hands didn't shake. Her heart did, but in the best way. But Highmeadow wasn't done with her, and neither was Mr. Elridge. On Monday, the school felt split. Some teachers smiled when she walked past. Others turned their heads. Some students nodded. Others whispered. Principal Laurel made an announcement. We'll be hosting a voluntary student forum this Friday to discuss equity and respectful environments in our classrooms. All are welcome. No names. No finger pointing. Everyone knew what it was about. Elridge didn't show up to class that day. A sub came in, confused and unprepared. Said Elridge had taken a few days of personal leave. Nobody asked questions. But that afternoon, something strange happened. A senior, someone Selah had never spoken to, slipped a note into her locker. Typed. Anonymous. One line. You reminded us what it sounds like when truth is played without fear. Selah stared at the note, then at her violin case. That night, she opened it slowly, but didn't play. Not yet, because she could feel it, like a storm just outside the walls. This wasn't over. Not even close. And she had no idea what was coming next. The silence in the room was heavier than applause. Mr. Evans said nothing, just turned, walked out, left Selah standing in front of her chair, bow still trembling in her grip. No one moved. Then the bell rang. Harsh, mechanical, like it was trying to snap the room out of a trance. Selah sat down slowly. Her heart pounded so loud it muffled everything else. The class filed out in strange, awkward patterns. Some looked at her. Others didn't. The boy who always led first chair violin, Kian Renner, paused by the door. "You didn't mess up," he said. He did. Then he walked out. By fourth period, the school had changed. People didn't talk to her, but they stared, as if she'd done something scandalous. She hadn't. She'd just played. By lunch, her name had reached the wrong ears. Principal Landon asked to see her. His assistant said it wasn't a punishment, just a conversation. But when Selah walked into the office, 2 chairs were already filled. Principal Landon, and someone she didn't recognize. "Selah," the principal said, as though her name tasted like hesitation. "This is Mr. Jeffries, from Central Office." Jeffries wore a gray suit and a smile that looked permanent but never reached his eyes. "You're quite the violinist." She sat down slowly. "There's been concern," Landon began, "about what happened this morning in Mr. Everett's class." "I played," Selah said. "You did," Jeffries said. "And beautifully, I might add. But the issue is more about the impact." Selah narrowed her eyes. "Impact?" Landon leaned forward. "You played an unscheduled solo during rehearsal. Without approval. He asked for volunteers." "Yes, but the expectation was a standard piece," Jeffries said. "You chose something dramatic. It was Shostakovich. A challenging choice," Jeffries continued, still smiling. "And one that some say disrupted the tone of the class." Selah looked between them. "Is this about what I played? Or how I played it?" Neither man answered. Jeffries folded his hands. "We're simply giving you a chance. If there was anything about Mr. Everett's conduct that made you uncomfortable, now's the time to speak. We take concerns seriously." Selah stared at him. She thought of the way Everett refused to look at her during class. The way he only praised the same students. The way he spoke like some instruments had more worth than others. And players too. But she said nothing. "I'd just like to keep playing," she said quietly. "Let in sight. Then we'll consider this matter closed." But it wasn't. The next day, Mr. Everett didn't speak. Not to her. Not to anyone. He taught as if she wasn't in the room. He called roll. Skipped her name. He gave bowing notes. Skipped her section. He corrected mistakes. Ignored hers, even when she made them on purpose. A girl behind her whispered, "Did he seriously just skip you again?" Selah kept her eyes on the sheet music. She'd been erased. But something strange started happening. In the hallway, a younger violinist named Quinn walked up to her. "What finger pattern were you using for the shift in that piece?" she asked. Selah blinked. "Which one?" "The one with the 5th position jump. I saw your elbow drop, but your intonation was perfect," Selah told her. Quinn nodded and left. Later, 2 cellists approached her in the library. They'd been trying to learn an old arrangement from a regional symphony. Could she listen to their phrasing? It kept happening. In whispers. In glances. In brief after-class questions. Even Kian, the same boy who led the section Everett always favored, stood beside her one afternoon while waiting for their lockers. "He's scared of you," he said. "Why?" "Because you didn't ask permission." She didn't answer. Because he was right. That week, the school counselor, Ms. Chauncey, pulled Selah aside. "I heard about what happened in orchestra." "Did he report me?" "No," Chauncey said carefully. "But people are watching. And some of them, me included, think you deserve a chance to grow. Not just survive." She handed Selah a business card. "Edra Wynn, Director, Highmeadow Youth Ensemble. She wants to meet you." Selah stared at the name. "She runs a citywide program," Chauncey explained. "It's independent. No district oversight. You could audition, or even be featured." "I don't know if I'm ready." "You already played Shostakovich." Without blinking, Selah didn't say yes. But she didn't throw the card away either. That night, she told her mother everything. They sat on the balcony, city lights blinking below like distant stars. Her mom held the card. "She used to know your grandmother," she said softly. Selah looked up. "Ms. Wynn. She was a student once. Just like you." Selah held the bow tighter. She called the next morning. The audition was private. No judge's table. No pressure. Just Ms. Wynn in a dim rehearsal hall, listening. Selah played something soft. Something her grandmother used to hum. Then she shifted. Let the tension rise. A sonata with fire in it. She didn't think. Just played. When she finished, Ms. Wynn stood up. "I'm not offering you a seat," she said. "I'm offering you the solo." Selah blinked. "For what?" "The spring showcase. Civic Center. Full house." Selah hesitated. "There'll be eyes on you. Not all kind. You'll be tested." "I'm already being tested." Ms. Wynn smiled. Then it won't be new. Selah said yes. Back at school, whispers turned into noise. Some students watched her with quiet awe, others with doubt. One girl rolled her eyes and muttered "show off" as she passed. In orchestra, Everin still acted like she didn't exist. But the divide was growing, not just among students. Teachers too. Ms. Gratham from English nodded when she saw her in the hall. Mr. Carlin from Science avoided eye contact. One morning, a new notice appeared on the announcements. Student Forum on Classroom Equity, voluntary. The words were bland, bureaucratic, but everyone knew what it was really about. When Selah walked into the auditorium, the room was only half full. But slowly it filled. Principal Landon gave a speech, said the district was committed to open dialogue. Then they passed the mic. One student stood and talked about being interrupted in math class every time he raised his hand. Another spoke about never being picked for leadership roles in group projects. The stories piled up. Selah sat still. Then someone said her name. She didn't even do anything wrong, a girl said. She just played better than anyone else. All heads turned. The moderator asked if Selah wanted to speak. She didn't move at first. Then she stood. "I didn't come here to make a statement," she said. "I played because someone asked. I didn't expect anyone to clap. I didn't expect anyone to listen." Her voice was steady now. But when someone decides your voice doesn't belong in the room, it stays with you. Even when they stop talking. Silence followed. Not awkward silence. Intense silence. I'm not here to name anyone. Just to say, I showed up. And some people didn't like that. She handed back the mic. When she left the stage, someone slipped her a folded note. She didn't open it until she got home. It read, "You reminded us what it sounds like when truth is played without fear." 3 days later, Mr. Everin was absent. Rumors flew. He was on leave. He was being investigated. He'd stepped down from the regional selection committee. No one knew for sure. When he returned, he was quieter. No commands. No dominance. Just a man standing behind a music stand. His power was gone. Selah sat in the same seat. Same instrument. But nothing felt the same. The showcase was a week away. The Civic Center shimmered at night like a cathedral of sound. She walked the stage before rehearsal. Empty seats rising around her like waves. Ms. Wynne adjusted a mic near the front. Nervous? No. Good. Selah played. Not to impress. Not to challenge. But to speak. The bow glided. Notes soared. A hush fell over the musicians behind her. Every sound was intentional. Honest. When the last note landed, the conductor looked stunned. "You'll bring the house down." She almost smiled. The next few days blurred. Rehearsals. New shoes. Her mother hemming a dress with trembling fingers. Then the night arrived. Backstage buzzed with tension. But Selah stood alone near the curtain, holding her grandmother's bow. The conductor raised his baton. The curtain lifted, and Selah stepped into the light. Then stopped. A figure stood at the edge of the stage, half hidden behind velvet drapes. Watching. Not Ms. Wynne. Not a teacher. Mr. Everin. He wasn't scheduled to be there. He wasn't on any list. But he was watching. Selah's heart skipped. The audience waited. She raised her bow, and locked eyes with him. He didn't move. But in his hand was a piece of paper. Folded. Crumpled. And unmistakably old. She knew that paper. She'd seen it before. It was her grandmother's composition. The one that had gone missing. The one she'd asked about. And Everin had it all along. He mouthed something. She couldn't hear it. But she saw the look in his eyes. And suddenly, the stage wasn't just a stage anymore. It was a battlefield. He was still there. At the edge of the curtain. Mr. Everin, half in shadow. Holding her grandmother's lost composition like a message only she was meant to read. Selah's bow didn't move. The orchestra waited. Even the air in the Civic Center seemed to pause. She stared at that crumpled paper. The audience, unaware of the silent war behind the curtain, leaned forward in anticipation. Her name had already been announced. Her seat was empty. The solo was hers. Still, she didn't play. Her heart pounded in her ears. He wasn't supposed to be here. He'd taken that music. Months ago. She remembered asking. Him brushing it off like it was nothing. "Old drafts go missing," he'd said, eyes elsewhere. But that wasn't carelessness. It was control. Now he was back. Not angry. Not defiant. Just watching. Like he knew she'd recognize it. Like he wanted her to. And somehow, this was the moment he chose to return it. A silent offering in front of hundreds of people who who would never understand what it meant. Selah's hands trembled slightly, but the bow steadied. She looked forward, took a breath, and she played. Not the planned piece, not the safe solo the ensemble had rehearsed around. She played her grandmother's composition. The opening measures were raw and unpolished. A hush swept through the audience. Confused glances. The conductor's baton hovered mid-air, then dropped slowly as he realized what was happening. This was not in the program. Selah closed her eyes, let the notes guide her. She didn't think of the judges, or the stage, or Mr. Everin still standing there, gripping the music like a confession. She thought of her grandmother, the nights they spent in the small living room, bow brushing strings while the old woman hummed along. The warmth of her voice, the calluses on her hands. The way she'd always say, "Music doesn't ask for permission, Selah. It just speaks." And Selah spoke. The music built like a rising tide. A quiet fury beneath it. Grief, joy, loss, and memory. All of it rising in the arc of the melody her grandmother had never gotten to share publicly. This was for her. Not Mr. Everin. Not the school. Not even the city. Just her. And when the final note faded, Selah lowered her bow and stared at the audience. No one moved. No one breathed. Then someone, maybe a teacher, rose slowly to their feet. Applause followed. Not wild. Not automatic. But reverent. Real. Like they understood. Selah bowed once. Walked off stage. The backstage area was dim and narrow. She barely made it to the side hallway before Everin appeared, still holding the composition. "Where did you find it?" she asked. Her voice wasn't angry, just tired. "I never lost it," he said quietly. Her stomach turned. "You kept it." "It wasn't meant to disappear," he said. "It was too powerful. You wouldn't have been ready." Selah stared at him. "That wasn't your decision." Everin lowered his gaze. For once, no pride, no pretense. "You reminded me of her," he said. "Then you should have honored her." "I didn't know how," he replied. "Not after everything." A beat of silence passed. Then she said it plainly. "You buried her legacy." Everin didn't deny it. "I thought I was protecting the program," he said. "Keeping things orderly. But what you were protecting was your order," she said. "Not music. Not us." He nodded. Then slowly, he handed her the composition. "I'm sorry." She took it. Didn't thank him. Just turned and walked back down the hallway. Behind her, Everin remained still. By the time she reached the side exit, the city air hit her like a wave. Cool. Free. Her mother was waiting near the steps. Her eyes were glassy, but her smile was steady. "I heard it," she said. Selah showed her the folded paper. Her mother's hands shook. She used to play that when she thought no one was listening. "I was listening." They stood under the street lamp, the applause still echoing faintly from the building behind them. Weeks passed. The showcase made local headlines. A blogger wrote, "A 14-year-old violinist hijacks the stage with a defiant tribute that rewrites the program and rewires the room." They called her a prodigy. But Selah didn't care about the word. She didn't play to impress. She played because the silence was worse. In school, something shifted. Everin didn't return to his former role. He taught occasionally, but with distance. A substitute now led the ensemble. Younger. Fairer. The classroom felt different. Still competitive. Still full of hierarchy. But now, no one pretended not to hear her. Quinn smiled when she passed. Kian nodded during rehearsal. Even students who'd stayed silent before gave her space that wasn't there months ago. At her locker one afternoon, Selah found another note. No name. "What you played gave us all permission to stop shrinking." At the spring youth panel, she was asked to speak. Not just about music, but about voice. She stood in front of younger kids, some just starting to learn instruments. One girl in the front row held a violin case with both hands, clinging like it might vanish. "You look like me," the girl said. "I didn't know people like us could play like that." Selah knelt beside her. "You don't need fame," she said. "Just patience. And a little fire." That night, back home on the balcony, she sat beside her mother. The city lights shimmered. The paper was in her lap, flattened now. Preserved. Her grandmother's music. Selah didn't cry. She didn't smile either. She was just still. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like she had to prove anything. She hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't fought with words. She let her music speak. And it was enough.